Welcome to the Kent Lapp Podcast.
So do you want to put a prediction on the record for the election?
Oh, man. I think predictions are really dangerous. The top pollsters are saying that Biden has about a 90% chance of taking it home, which means that the president has a 10% chance of bringing it home too.
Yep.
One really interesting thing that I saw for those that get into the polling data like I do, 538 blog is one of the premier polling, I guess, websites.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a guy named Nate Silver does a lot of polling data, a lot of baseball statistics too, actually, a real smart guy.
I've heard of this guy.
Yeah, he ran his simulation 100 times for the election. Biden won 89 of those simulations, Trump won 10, and one of them was a tie.
Yes.
So
interesting.
If there's a tie, the House of Representatives picks the president, but each state delegation gets one vote. So Wyoming has just as much voting power as California.
At that point.
And the Senate picks the vice president.
Yes. This played out in a TV show called Veep, I think, at one point. And it was just a whole debacle. But they went through
It would not be good.
It would not be good. So it's possible. Theoretically, it's possible to have a tie with the Electoral College because there's 50 states and there's the Senate obviously has 2 representatives per state, but the Electoral College, it's possible to have a tie with the Electoral College?
Sure. So the electoral votes come out to, an even number. So you need 270 to win. So you could theoretically have a 269 tie. Mm-hmm. The way that the Constitution's written, though, is that it's any time that the Electoral College doesn't select a candidate with a majority of the votes. So let's say you had 3 candidates and each of them got a third of the vote, it would still go to the House. It's not necessarily a tiebreaker. It's just any time the Electoral College doesn't have a majority vote for one candidate. So actually, when the framers put this system together, and we don't have to go straight into the Electoral College, although
we may as well. We're there now.
I think people are talking about it a lot. Is they really obviously couldn't have imagined the modern United States of America from Portland, Maine to Seattle, Washington, and everything in between. They couldn't have imagined the communication systems that we have. Mm-hmm. And, they were writing letters and riding on horses when the Constitution was written.
Yep.
There was no telephone. There was really no electricity. And so they really doubted that, for example, at the time of the founding, someone in Georgia would really know that much about a candidate from Vermont. So they actually thought that the Electoral College may have difficulty picking a candidate every cycle, and it would pretty much get kicked to the House. And so they decided to give the states really this superpower. And so it's really not representative of the population because otherwise, why would Wyoming have more of a say than California or Texas or Florida? Mm-hmm. But they gave each state delegation one vote. It's very interesting the way they set that up.
That's if there's not a majority winner at the level of the Electoral College.
Right.
Then it goes to, you said, the House of Representatives.
Right.
And in the House of Representatives, every state gets to cast one vote for who they want to be the president.
That's right.
So theoretically, this could happen. I mean, has it ever happened?
So I'd have to go back and check. I think that it has one time. I don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But obviously,
it's not happened in our lifetime.
Not in hundreds of years.
Yeah. Okay. So then every state casts their vote for the president at that point, and then presumably there would be a pretty clear winner at that point, and it's over. Or does the Senate approve it? Is the Senate involved at all?
No.
Okay.
Just in the vice presidential selection.
Okay. The Senate then picks the vice president?
Right.
Ah.
So if you'll, recall, the original way the Constitution was drafted, senators were not elected by the people. They were appointed by state legislatures. And so the Senate was very much separated from the popular vote. But they wanted the president and the House to be very connected, at least more so to the popular vote, although they still had this electoral college mechanism. So at least for a while, people didn't actually vote on the president for years and years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the system we have now is called winner take all, right? So, for example, in Tennessee, our certain number of electoral votes whoever gets the majority of the votes of the popular of the population in Tennessee, all those electoral votes go for that candidate. You know, those that would say the Electoral College is not necessarily representative of everyone's vote would say it wipes out the people who didn't vote for the majority candidate.
Yes.
And in some ways that's true.
Yep.
Which is why we have this weird math. So if you look back at the 2016 election, President Trump won Michigan and Wisconsin by less than a point, but he got all of those electoral votes.
Right.
So in many ways, his Electoral College victory stacked up, but as you know, he lost the popular vote. And so these really weird, no other country on earth ever has, and nor do they have now, this kind of a system.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the Electoral College. But first, I just want to make sure I understand this. If in the odd scenario that there's a tie, which I don't suspect there will be.
I hope not.
House of Representatives, every state casts a vote for the president. Do they need a pick at that point between the two main candidates?
Yeah.
Like if they vote, it's probably still going to be Trump or Biden.
Right.
And then the Senate picks the vice president. And are they picking between one of the two vice presidents that's on the ballot?
You know, I'm a little fuzzy on the vice presidential point, but my understanding is yes, they would pick between the vice presidential nominees.
Okay.
So, I mean, theoretically, I actually saw a tweet earlier to this effect where someone was hypothesizing what ifs. What if you ended up with a Biden-Pence
Exactly.
ticket?
That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Because the Senate is controlled by Republicans, and so it's very unlikely that they would vote for Kamala Harris as vice president.
We need to put money on this. Andrew, what are you putting down?
Don't bet any money on this. It's so
Nothing at
unlikely. But
Yeah.
it's a little bit scary to think that would happen. And what's really interesting is that the outsized power that, say, a California wields in the House of Representatives goes away.
It does. Absolutely. Yeah.